Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Good to have you guys here today. Joined in studio today by writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
Big week, John. A big week with big red and blue in the sky.
Well, speaking of which, tomorrow, I was able to get you a ticket to the Amazon screening of Superman tomorrow. So we're going to go see that tomorrow night. I'm very, very excited about that. We got a few Superman things to talk about here today. I know.
It's here.
I still can't believe the passage of time. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like yesterday we were talking about, oh my God, James Gunn was just announced as the new head of DC. And here we are. Tomorrow we're going to go see the movie.
I just really look forward to the social media responses.
Yeah, by the way, speaking of which, gonna let you guys know, tonight, here on the John Campea channel, it is time for Reaction Watch. That's right, the Superman social media embargo lifts at 9 p.m. LA time. Now, that'll be midnight for you guys on the East Coast, but 9 p.m. LA time. So I'm going to be doing a live stream tonight, reacting, and this is what I'm starting to sense, Rob. I'm starting to sense, because saw from our friend Mike, buddy of mine, guy I've known for a long, long time. I haven't seen him in ages, but a guy I've known for a long, long time. Used to be at Joe Blow, then was one of the founders, I believe, of Screen Crush, and he's still like one of the most respected reviewers and all that kind of stuff. Well, Daily Beast broke the review embargo and put up like a very negative thing, but our friend Mike, he then got on social media and said, look, I know I'm going to get in trouble for this. And Mike's been in this business a long time, very well respected, all that kind of stuff. He said, I know I'm going to get in trouble for this, but regarding that review embargoed review, he never says Superman by name. He goes, I couldn't disagree more. And he says, look, since I'm already getting in trouble anyway, I'll say this about this unnamed movie. He goes, I haven't had this much fun in years. I thought it was better than Top Gun Maverick. And he loves Top Gun Maverick. Now, does that mean I'm going to feel that way? Not necessarily. Does that mean you're going to feel that way? Not necessarily. It's just one guy. But that made me feel pretty good. So anyway, I'm expecting mixed to positive. Is what I'm expecting to read tonight. I think this is what we're going to get from the first embargo. And by the way, full review embargo, instead of having to wait a number of days, the full review embargo lifts tomorrow. Yeah. So tonight, social media, tomorrow, full reviews, still days before the official release of the film. So
I find this to be kind of a litmus test for fandom. You know, there's going to be a lot of people, I think, obviously we know we're getting a Silver Age fantastical Superman, which is different than anything we've got before. So I'm very curious to see what the fan community, obviously there's going to be people that embrace it and people that don't. And I'm going to be curious to see, like, as somebody, John, who's been reading Superman comics literally my whole life, I've seen every different kind of flavor of Superman that exists. And I'm, if for no other reason, excited about this movie because we're getting a new flavor of Superman on the big screen we've never had before. Now, it's not going to be for everybody. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, this is not exactly what I wanted. But it's going to be, it's something unique and different. And I'm looking forward to it for that reason alone. Yeah. But you're going to hear it from me. If I don't like it, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or you remember me. I was the lone voice in the wilderness going into Craven the Hunter that said, you're all going to see, all you fools are going to see that this movie's actually going to be pretty damn good. I feel very confident this is going to be a good movie. And I told everybody that, and yeah.
How'd that work out?
Yeah, then I had to come out and say, oh, this movie's dog crap. So I don't know if I'm going to have to do the same thing to Superman or not.
I mean, I hope not, because this is such an enormous swing. It's not just a movie, it's a studio.
Yeah.
It's the launching point, and they've already got things. They got Lanterns coming. They got Supergirl coming, Creature Commandos, Peacemaker Season 2, the Clayface, Swamp Thing, whatever. And if this doesn't work...
it's going to be... Now, again, we'll go in more of this later. Yeah. You're right. If it doesn't work, it's going to be a very bad, horrible, rotten day.
I want it to work because it's a huge swing.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we are here to talk about a bunch of stuff that we got lined up for you guys. So let's not waste any time and do this. And this was unplanned, but here's a little bit of the thing off the top, because Rob and I were just talking about this before. I said we should make this a topic. And it's going to be this. So Fantastic Four is coming out in a couple of weeks. You'd be forgiven if you might have forgotten that because of Superman's coming out first and Jurassic World has come out. So it's getting a little bit lost in the mix that Fantastic Four is coming out this month in just 2 weeks. Now, I think the trailers have been good. I think the trailers have been fine. But one of the things that Rob and I have both been saying for a while is that the trailers haven't done anything to really move the needle a lot. Like, we're already looking forward to Fantastic Four. And the trailers haven't done anything to change that, but they certainly haven't been great. Well, 1 or 2 days ago, they decided to release a clip of that dinner scene. Now, we've seen like little bits of the dinner scene in every trailer. Like, you guys are late. What do you mean we're late? You're late. You're late for dinner. Wait, you're late? Are you pregnant? Yes. You're going to be the best mom and blah, right? So we've seen the scene, right? We've seen the scene. But they released in the last couple of days just the scene. They put the full scene up, right? I think it's like a minute long, 30 seconds to a minute long, whatever. And Rob, even though we've seen half of it already kind of cut up into a trailer, this one scene was the first time that I actually got a big smile on my face because I could actually feel the chemistry between the characters and the performers. And I would dare say that in every movie with a cast, chemistry with the cast is important, absolutely. But I don't know if in a superhero film, it's ever been more important than with a Fantastic Four. And I then rewound it, it's the digital day, but I played it back and I watched it again. It's like, this is the best feeling piece of promotion they've put out so far that I went, oh, finally, this feels like the Fantastic Four. And you had a chance to check it out. What did you think?
Well, you brought this up today, and I was like, dude, that's exactly right. I watched that whole scene, and I thought to myself, they always talk about the one thing the Fantastic Four has going for it, Stan Lee would say this, is the family aspects. And I never felt we felt it in any of the promotional material. And this scene, just like you said, I looked and I'm like, oh, this is really a warm, entertaining feeling watching this. And it was such a simple thing because it was just the scene played out. All we've seen are these truncated moments out of time that didn't generate any warmth at all. And I'm like, I felt the same thing, and you're the first person to articulate it. Something goes by. It's not like I talk to every single person about every thought I've ever had about every movie clip I see. But when you brought it up this morning, I'm like, that's exactly right. And it was the first time it put a smile on my face. I'm like, yeah, wow, I can't wait to see this cast because, I was listening to, what's his face from, The Bear. He was being interviewed on NPR, and I really liked hearing him, like just talking. And I'm like, I love this guy, like hearing his insight. Eben, however you pronounce his name. I'm like, I can't wait to see this movie. And it was two things that I've been waiting to get out of the marketing material, and I hadn't. And between that interview last week and then the clip, yes, I saw that clip yesterday. I was like, wow, my enthusiasm and excitement for Fantastic Four has shot way up
because of this one clip.
Yeah.
And you know what else? Do you know what else jumped out to me about the clip besides finally feeling the chemistry between them, which made me kind of feel they should have put this clip out 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But the other thing that really stood out to me was because I couldn't really tell from the trailers, but when Johnny and Sue are talking back and forth about being late, why are you acting weird? Why are you acting weird? When the camera goes to Ben's face, the subtle reactions as Ben is figuring it out. It's the first time that I went, the CGI on the thing is working like gangbusters. This looks great. And I've thought the thing looks fine up until now. It looks fine. It's fine. Watching that scene with the actual little minor expressions and stuff like that, I'm like, this is really working for me now.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Now, We got weeks to go. Are they going to over promote this movie now and start showing new 1-minute clips every day?
I hope not. I'm getting tired of that.
They might. I mean, they got to try to get the box office on this. But anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think of this new little scene they put out for Fantastic Four? I think it's the best thing they put out so far because for the first time in all of their marketing, I actually get a sense of the chemistry between the characters. It felt really endearing and it put a smile on my face. I don't know. How did you guys feel about it? Whatever you guys thought, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, Jurassic World Rebirth is now out in theaters. I saw it a little over a week ago. I'm not a fan. Another one of those movies that I was telling everybody, I think this is going to be good. This feels like a return to the spirit of the first one. And I had to come out and go, nope, it didn't do it. No, I didn't think it was completely terrible. I didn't think it was a terrible movie by any stretch. It had some really good parts in it. But overall, the question, though, remaining is, how was it going to do at the box office? And the answer to that is tricky. It depends on how you look at it. It's a very Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. It depends on your point of view. Because on one hand, for most movies, the opening weekend that it had was pretty damn good. But not great by Jurassic World standards. We do that a lot with MCU movies too, right? Like this movie had a box office a lot of filmmakers would kill for. But it wasn't so great by Marvel Cinematic Universe standards. Because according to the reports that we have here, Jurassic World, we'll get to those numbers in a sec. Jurassic World Rebirth had an official opening weekend number of $91.5 million. $91.5 million. And listen, that's by almost any other measurement, that's great. It is. But is it great when we look at it in terms of the Jurassic franchise as a whole? And that's when it gets to be not so great, right? Because if we go over and look at it, Jurassic World Rebirth comes in at $91.5 million. But look at the last couple of them. Jurassic World Dominion opened with $145 million compared to that 91. It went on to make $1 billion. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, that should say 148. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom opened to $148 million. It went on to make $1.31 billion. The first Jurassic World, with the first one with Chris Pratt, opened at $208 million. Went on to make $1.67 billion. Now, then you get into the older Jurassic films. Jurassic World 3 opened to 50. Jurassic The Lost World opened to 72. Jurassic Park, the original, opened to 47 million, but it went on to make over $1.1 billion, as Time had said. Now, the 91.5 million is also a number you've got to take with a bit of a grain of salt. Because that was the official, as every movie is measured by, the official opening weekend. So you're comparing apples to apples. But Jurassic World opened days earlier than normal. So instead of a 3-day weekend, it had a 5-day opening weekend. And in its 5-day, the movie actually made 147. And its 5-day. So as much as the last Jurassic Park did, the last Jurassic World Dominion did, but Jurassic World Dominion did it in, 40% less days.
Right.
So it made 147. And listen, when you look at the worldwide number, so far, Jurassic World Rebirth has made $318 million in its opening week. That, again, it depends on your point of view. By almost any film standards, that's pretty damn good.
Pretty damn good.
Not great by Jurassic standards, but pretty damn good. The problem they're going to face, Rob, is that's not a bad start. Even for a Jurassic World, not a bad start. But is it going to have legs? And there's two big obstacles that I see in its way. Number one is the word of mouth isn't great, right? It's not everybody hates it, and I don't hate it. Again, I don't hate it. But the word of mouth is not going to propel this movie to have legs. The second big problem is affectionately referred to as Big Blue. Superman is coming. And whether or not Superman is great or terrible, a lot of people are going to go to find out opening weekend.
Yes.
I'm expecting a 65, maybe a 70% drop for Jurassic World Rebirth. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it can find its legs and do well. So not a bad start by most film standards. Not great by Jurassic. 91.5 million, 140 something million, but that's only if you add 40% more days for the 5-day weekend. So Rob, what's your takeaway? What's standing out to you about the actual numbers we got here? What is standing out to you the most? And what kind of legs do you think this movie's going to have moving forward?
Well, first of all, just because I don't like a movie doesn't mean I don't want it to be successful.
Right.
And I want to see Universal. This is one of their linchpin franchises. This is an IP that's been working for them for 30 years, and I hope that people go and it makes more money. I don't know how much more money it's going to make. I mean, I'm going to have to see. Like you said, I'd love to see it have a 50% or less drop, but Superman is huge competition because it's the same audience.
Right.
But also you might have people that, high tide raises all ships. So when people are excited about movies, they go. And, the thing about Jurassic Park and Superman is they both attract a family audience. It's not like you're going to get one or the other. It's one siphoning off. Look, I want the movie to do better. Is it going to make $1 billion? I don't think it's going to make that kind of money. I just don't. I don't think it had I don't think it was. Look, I thought the last Jurassic Park movie was not great.
Oh, it wasn't great.
But
no.
I think that there was more, you had motorcycle chases in the city and stuff like that. There was more going on in it than this film. So I think that, I don't know if it's as satisfying for the family audience. I don't know if this movie will make it to $1 billion. We'll know after weekend 2. Is it going to get past, $500,000 or $500 million worldwide? I don't know. But I want it to succeed.
So, okay, 2 questions then for you here. Question number 1. How much, if any, like we live in a different era than the first trailer for Phantom Menace came out, but they did publicize it that the Odyssey, the new Christopher Nolan trailer, was going to play in front of Jurassic. How big of an impact do you think that had on the opening weekend of Jurassic? So that's question number 1. The second question is, what is the future for this franchise? Let's say, and it may go past $700 million, but let's say it doesn't. Let's say they go from $3 billion films in a row to sub 700 with lukewarm reviews. So question number 1, did the Odyssey have anything to do with the numbers it had? Question number 2 is, what is, or is there a future for this Jurassic franchise, do you think?
I was talking to a friend of mine, Alvaro, this weekend about this, and we were talking specifically about this new Jurassic World franchise. And he made a really interesting point. He said they've really done no world building in this franchise. You now have 4 movies in the Jurassic World franchise, and it seems like they erased everything that they were building up to in the last 3. Like, the dinosaurs, nobody's interested in them anymore. And, they're only on the equatorial plane of Earth, now. And that's where they're relegated to. So what they've missed out on doing is they should have made a franchise about the Earth itself changing to accommodate. One of the things that we didn't, like the scientists didn't expect, is that by putting dinosaurs back on the Earth, it might have triggered something in the biology of the planet.
Like the ecology itself starts to change. That's interesting.
Underneath humanity. One of my favorite science fiction series of all time, The War Against the Tor by David Gerald, is about an alien ecosystem invading Earth and terraforming it from underneath humanity. And it becomes, the whole ecology of the world becomes dangerous. It becomes an alien. And in that way, the metaphoric idea of climate change becomes the dinosaurs themselves. That 65 million year old ecology is literally changing the world underneath us, which is a huge problem. And so not only do we have dinosaurs to deal with, we have to deal with the fact that our world's climate is becoming inhospitable to humanity, which could have done. And then also, why haven't they made the dinosaurs? Everyone's talking about, like, okay, you've got these mutating creatures. Why didn't they start mutating dinosaurs to become like beasts of burden, to become like farm animals? If you had a brontosaurus that could plow a field, wouldn't that be, they could have done something more interesting than that. but they haven't done that. And with Jurassic World, the name itself says, okay, it's not just about an amusement park. What does the planet, what does humanity have to do? And each movie could have explored that, and it could have been really interesting. What happens when wars are fought using dinosaurs? What if you figured out a way, okay, our nuclear arsenals we don't want to destroy the planet, but what if you launched like an army of, T-Rexes?
We're going to unleash a herd of T-Rexes.
What are you going to do?
In
like
Istanbul?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. And what if you had armies that were unleashing? What are you going to do? And it's not really effective when you have like 1,000 T-Rexes stampeding. If you're going to start using planes from the air to like blow these things up, well, how does that work? And what is that going to, and what, can you imagine having a flying aerial force of dinosaurs and T-Rexes going to war?
An air force of dinosaurs.
Come on, wouldn't that be cool?
What's the name of what's the piece of the music again? That's a bum ba da bum 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 ba da bum bum.
It's Ride of the Valkyries.
That's Ride of the Valkyries. It's just these T-Rexes sailing down out of the sun.
It's
now it's getting Fast and the Furious.
Right, but I mean, there would be people that would be doing that. Like using. And what happens? What if you find out? I mean, that would get a little crazy, but this movie sort of once again corralled the dinosaurs into one place on Earth. So you're left with the same story over and over and over and over again, and that's not that much fun. I mean, this movie did not make it kind of just it limited the premise of what Jurassic World could have been. Right. And I don't know. I don't know what that means, but I mean, we have had 7 movies, and look, I love dinosaurs eating people, but if it's just that, it gets a little tiresome.
All right, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, the official opening weekend number for Jurassic World is $91.5 million. Now, again, some of you might hear, well, I heard it was 140. That was for a 5-day opening, 40% more days. The official opening weekend's 91. It's got over $300 million worldwide on its first week. But is that start going to now be slowed down a lot by the fact that the word of mouth isn't great, the reviews aren't great, and, well, we got Superman coming this weekend. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Speaking of Jurassic World, of course, everybody kind of got excited when they found out that one of the stars signing up for Jurassic World was Scarlett Johansson, which got a lot of people's attention. And, well, this funny thing just happened that I didn't even realize was close to happening. But according to the numbers, after the opening weekend of $300 million some odd worldwide, Scarlett Johansson is now the highest grossing movie actor of all time. The single highest grossing movie actor of all time. Now, it needs to be pointed out that in taking this into consideration, they do not count movies where she does a quick voice thing or she has a cameo in. If you counted cameos, you know who the highest grossing actor of all time is, Rob? Want to take a wild guess if you include even like voice work and
Morgan Freeman.
No, but that's a good guess. Stan Lee. Stan Lee becomes officially the highest grossing actor of all time. But no, it's ScarJo, ladies and gentlemen. And here's how it breaks down and who she has passed to become the highest grossing actress of all time. Scarlett Johansson now sits at $14.9 billion. Remember, these are movies where they are a significant main character in the film. $14.9 billion from 52 films.
Billion.
She passes Samuel L. Jackson, who was the top of the list, at $14.8 billion from 66 films. Robert Downey Jr. comes in third at $14.3 billion from 65 films. Zoe Saldana is on the list. Of course, MCU and Avatar. Oh, and now she's also got a Pixar film that's adding to that numbers as well. So $14.2 billion for 31 films. And coming in fifth, Chris Pratt at $14.1 billion. Of course, that's a mix of MCU and his 3 Jurassic World movies, plus a bunch of others, at $23 billion. So Scarlett Johansson, new #1 box office queen of the universe. And you know what's funny about this is just the other day, my business manager texted me. He goes, everybody's talking about Scarlett Johansson as being some big box office draw, but like, I can't think of anything other than MCU that she's been big in. Maybe it doesn't need anything much else than MCU stuff, but between that and the new Jurassic, she's the queen of the hill now. Rob, anyway, you saw that. I was very surprised to see the numbers. What do you think about it? Her place on the list? Who's going to pass her? I don't know. How do you look at this?
Well, John, it says to me that the long-awaited Ghost World 2 I've been waiting for years can now happen. Perhaps with that bankability, let's get Ghost World 2 off the ground. Bring back Steve Buscemi too. No, I think it's funny to think that because, you know, on one hand, we're always thinking about, our great screen actors like Daniel Day-Lewis and all that. But you'd think that our greatest actors would be and Scarlett Johansson, to be fair, is a really great actress. I've liked her.
Oh, she's an Oscar caliber.
You know,
actor.
I mean, and she's done movies like Under the Skin, the crazy sci-fi movie where she literally plays an alien. And I've always loved her. And it doesn't surprise me because, look, you know, when they tapped her to be Natasha Romanoff in Iron Man 2, they knew what they were getting. They knew the caliber of actress she was, and they needed you to buy into her Black Widow character immediately. She didn't get her own movie yet. So she did that, and she was able to do that. She always understands the assignment. And I think that her bankability is based on her bankability is based on her ability. And that's the way it should be, and I don't think it's surprising. You know, and she's making some shrewd business choices. You know, this kind of box office allows her then one for them, one for me. And she can go out and do those crazy movies like Under the Skin if she wants. And I think that was a smart, shrewd thing to do. And of course she wanted to do this Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movie because of this bankability. I mean, another $300 million in the coffers for Scarlett this weekend. Good job for you, ScarJo. Well done.
By the way, somebody mentioned this in the live chat, and I was going to bring it up too. So let's take a look at this list again. Again, Zoe Saldana right now sitting down at number 4 at $14.2 billion. This list is going to change.
Yeah, this year.
Come December, this list is going to change because there's another little movie called Avatar coming out in December. And that's automatically $1 billion film. So you're talking about Zoe Saldana come the beginning of January is going to become the biggest grossing actor of all time. Then at some point after that, we're going to have Avengers Doomsday, and one Robert Downey Jr. is probably then going to jump to the top. So this is going to be a revolving door, this list. But as of right now, Scarlett Johansson can tell her kids and her grandkids at one point, Grandma, was the highest grossing actor in the history of Hollywood. That's a pretty good thing to say.
Pretty neat.
Pretty neat. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Scarlett Johansson is now officially, with just the numbers from the opening weekend of Jurassic World Rebirth, is now it. She's the highest grossing actress of all time, playing a major role in a film. Does that surprise you? Does anybody else on the list surprise you? How do you think the list is going to look a year from now? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on and talk about this, shall we? You know, with the brand new DCU happening, a lot of people wondering about Flash. And for a long time, much like when they first announced Brandon Routh's Superman Returns was coming, I still remember when I did the world's first movie podcast, the very first topic we discussed, Rob, was how many fans were wanting Tom Welling from Smallville to be in the new Superman movie. To which we always said, that's ridiculous. This is the Superman movie. This isn't Smallville, the movie. I love Tom Welling in Smallville, but this isn't Smallville, the movie. This is Superman. But much like that, there have been a lot of calls now that Ezra Miller is assumedly not coming back. There have been a lot of calls for CW's Flash, Grant Gustin, to come back and play Flash. And listen, I got to say, I used to love the show. I loved Flash. I thought it was great for the first number of seasons. Hell, I probably even loved it up to season 4 or 5. It lost me after a while. Like it was a show that stuck around far past its shelf life. But still, I like Grant Gustin as it very much. Well, something happened in the last couple of days that is only going to feed that hysteria of some people really wanting Grant Gustin to come back as Flash. Because as it's being reported, Grant Gustin was just at a fan event, a big fan fest sort of thing. And I guess they had some of the cast of The Flash on there. And Grant was directly asked, hey, I watched the video to this. They said, if James Gunn were to cast you in the DCU, what would you want to be? And without hesitation, he said, Flash. I want to be Flash. So now you've got Grant Gustin. Now, what I was kind of expecting to hear was you know what? I loved that time. That was the role that made my career. I remember those were the best years of my life. I loved playing Flash, but I can't wait to see what the new Flash is going to be like and what direction they're going to go. And I kind of expected all that. But when asked straight up, hey, Flash. Yeah, I'd like to be Flash in James Gunn's DCU. Now look.
Who wouldn't?
And again, and you're right, who wouldn't? I would suggest that I don't think this is ever going to happen. Again, this is the new DCU. This isn't CW's Flash the movie. And while you could bring him in and say this is a totally different Barry, it's a totally different Flash, you could do that. You can, but why would you? What's kind of the point? Now, look, I'll also say this. If I were to wake up tomorrow, Rob, and open up Deadline and see the headline, official Warner Brothers signs, or DC signs Grant Gustin to play Flash in future installments of their new DCU, I'm not going to be mad about it. I like him. I think he's great.
Sure.
If I remember correctly, the dude married a Canadian Filipino girl, which checks all kinds of boxes for me. So I'd be happy, but I mean, were James Gunn to give me a call, which you know he does often to seek my sage advice, were James Gunn to give me a call and say, John, what should I do about this? Should I add Grant Gustin? I'm going to say no. Not because of anything knocking Grant Gustin. I like him very much, but we've had his time as Flash. If people wanted to see Grant Gustin's Flash, more than 700,000 people a week would have tuned in to watch Flash. It's time to move on and move forward. But again, I wouldn't hate it if they did it. Anyway, Rob, you saw this story. You saw his reaction saying, I'd play Flash in James Gunn's universe. What do you think about him saying that, first of all? Like, what do you think about him giving that response? And then secondly, what would the wisdom or lack thereof be to actually pull the trigger and have Grant Gustin as the DCU Flash?
Well, one, I mean, I totally think, of course he'd want to be in the DC universe. Like, why not? But I don't think it's a smart thing to do. I mean, Flash is a cornerstone character in the JLA. You know, he's in the Justice League from the beginning. And I think he's going to probably be an important part of the new DC universe moving forward. I think it's really important that for its own identity, I mean, I know we've got Peacemaker. There's a crossover with Peacemaker, which we already have established. But I think that there is a necessary, in order to make this universe work, it needs to have these characters be unique to the DC universe, the new universe that they're building. I don't have a problem with an actor coming in and playing a different role. Like, I could see Grant Gustin playing Booster Gold. You know,
he'd be a pretty good Booster Gold.
I know, right? He'd probably be a good Booster Gold if they're going to go in that direction. I could see him doing that. But I think it's important that they have somebody new that's unique for these cornerstone characters, foundational characters. It needs it for its own identity. Otherwise, you're constantly going to be comparing and contrasting, and in the viewers' minds, you want to build something that's new and unique. So,
all right,
sorry,
guys.
Grant.
Question is for you. What do you think about this? Grant Gustin at a fan fest got up and said, "Yeah, I'd want to play Flash in James Gunn's DCU." Do you think there would actually be any potential of that happening? I mean, I don't. Why cause the confusion if it's unnecessary? And Grant's great. Grant's great. I remember his Flash fondly, but I'm looking forward to see Grant Gustin doing more other things moving forward. But do you think it could happen? And theoretical question, but if they did announce it tomorrow, which it won't, but if it did, how would you actually feel about it? I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't be mad at the idea. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Happy holidays, everybody. You may be asking, John, what holiday is it? It is Superman Eve. It is the day, behold, until Superman opens, at least to fan screenings across the country. Tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Superman fans going to be running out to see Superman tomorrow. We will be two of them, Rob. We'll be out there. We'll be out there to watch it. Now, over the course of the last couple of months, a lot of attention has been paid. It's the start of a brand new cinematic universe. I totally get it. To number one question, how good or not good is the movie going to be? But the second most important question is, how will it do? Are people going to go out and see it? I've had my reservations about that because of all the baggage that comes along with this Superman coming out of the wreckage of the old DCEU. They got problems. So how's it going to do? Now, over the months, we've tracked the box office projections. They've at some points been as low as like 85 million opening, which again, by many other movie standards would be awesome. We've seen as high as like 180 million, which would make it the highest opening weekend for any DC movie in history. But here we are now on Superman Eve, and we're actually getting the projection numbers now. The actual projection numbers are, remember, it was as low as about 85, but the actual projections number now are saying bottom end, $130 million. They're saying top end, $171 million. Now,
it's not bad.
We have had situations recently where opening weekend projections have been blown away by certain movies. 95% of the time, it always falls in line with projections, but every once in a while it exceeds them. We could see that. Now, for comparison's sake, I believe the highest opening weekend ever for a DC movie was Batman versus Superman. I believe that opened to like 160, somewhere in that neighborhood. Correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, but I think it's somewhere around the $160 million mark. Which is funny because it was by far the biggest opening weekend for a DCEU movie, and it only ended up being the 7th highest grossing DCE movie because people went to go see it and then they stopped going to see it. I like that movie. I don't care what anybody says. I like Batman versus Superman. Anyway, that aside. So they are targeting that this is a movie that could actually exceed that and become the highest opening weekend for a DC film ever. That would beat the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight films. That would obviously beat anything DCEU related, so on and so forth. So Rob, and now they're saying bottom is probably around the 130 mark. So Rob, you're seeing these numbers now. Number one, what do you think about the projections? How high or low do you think Superman is actually going to do opening weekend? We'll talk later about how good we think the movie will be or bad.
Right.
But how big can it be? And do you think it has a shot at becoming like the highest grossing DCU movie ever? And by the way, if it does, and we don't know that it will, but if it does become the highest grossing DC movie ever, the other thing I think we got to keep in mind is this is the first movie in a new franchise. This is coming with all the baggage of the failed DCEU. There are fewer people going to the movies today than 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, how significant is it if it does indeed become the highest DCU grosser of all time? So anyway, that's a lot I threw at you, but what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think it probably will. My initial impulse is to say that it is going to be the highest DC movie in terms of its opening because it has something the others didn't have, which is it has its feet firmly planted in the family audience. You know, this is a 4-quadrant film. Parents can look at the marketing. It's been very smart. Kids are delighted by it. Parents know they can take their kids to see this film because of the iconography, not just crypto, but because of the robots and the giant monsters. And it looks like a family film. And that is something that you cannot underestimate. Whereas Zack Snyder's movies obviously were not that. and you could tell that from the marketing. So I think you're going to have the superpower of the family audience propelling this box office upwards from where we might normally think it was going to be. 2, I think people are curious. I honestly think that this looks like it's a good time at the movies. People want to have a good time at the movies. You know, you want to go to see something that makes you forget your troubles. They've marketed the hell out of this film. They've said nothing except, look at how much fun this is going to be. You know, and that's something that you can't underestimate. And that, by the way, you also can't get away from this movie now. It's everywhere. No matter where you look. It doesn't matter where it is. I was watching some ad for Ovaltine or whatever. It's like, but Superman drinks Ovaltine now, you know, and I'm like, no, I really wasn't watching an ad for Ovaltine. But if there were, they would have a Superman tie-in. It's everywhere.
Dude, I mentioned this on the show the other day, but I went to an AEW wrestling event the other day. And it was Superman everywhere, not only on the big billboards in the arena, but then they actually cut several promos of a couple of the big AEW wrestlers, like the hero guy talking to David Cornsweat, the AEW villain guy hanging out with Lex Luthor. Why am I freezing? I freeze on his name all the time.
About a boy.
Yeah, I freeze on his name all the time. Anyway.
Nicholas Hoult.
Hanging out with Nicholas Hoult, so they were doing promos with, I mean, literally on everything I'm seeing right now. Remember, we talked some time ago about it looked like this was going to be, the rumor is that this is going to be the highest marketing budget that Warner Brothers has ever had on a movie. Because, again, they need the reputation of the film. They need eyeballs on it. They don't necessarily need it to, I've said this a million times, they don't need it to be a big box office hit, but they need as many eyeballs on it as possible to spread, hopefully, good word of mouth. So, and they are doing it, man. They are pushing this thing all over the place.
Hard. No, and I've never seen a marketing blitz quite like it. And I was there for Superman Returns marketing blitz, and it was big, but not like this. And I'll tell you something else. You know what's been really interesting? I think I've watched every interview. They've had these long interviews. You know, they had the Fandango one that Mark Ellis did.
Yep.
That was really interesting. He asked really good questions. I was like, oh, Mark Ellis is a smart guy. I watched him interview the cast. The cast.
Is he, though? Is he?
I liked his I liked his questions.
I love Mark.
I know. And I watched Hector Navarro do interviews. What I really have been impressed by is the cast itself. David Cornsweat is Superman. That guy is great. You know, he's handsome. He's charismatic. You know, somebody was, I think it was CBS this morning, went to he's doing a play in Philly in his hometown. He's really active in theater in his hometown. I'm like, this guy's the real deal. Yeah. You know, and I'm watching all of these actors. Nicholas Hoult is very endearing. You know, Rachel Brosnahan and James Gunn is everywhere, obviously. And I'm like, you know what? I'm rooting for these people. I really am. By seeing these people, they have convinced me they did exactly what marketing is supposed to do. One, I believe they're all my friends because I watch them so much. They're in my living room.
You feel like you know them now.
They're all my friends. I feel like I know them. And 2, I am rooting for these people. Does that make me a shill? I don't think so. But I want to love this movie. If I don't love this movie, there's going to be some people in this room that I'm going to blame. They could be hit by lightning. You know, no, I'm going to feel not good about it. Because I want them to succeed. But if I don't like this movie, I'm going to be pissed.
Oh, dude, listen.
I'm going to be pissed.
I have said this many times. This is the problem with the marketing being so good, right? We're talking about Fantastic Four. The marketing for Fantastic Four has been okay. But the marketing for Superman has always moved the needle for me. It's always pushed the needle up. I can't remember the last time, maybe Deadpool and Wolverine, that I've been this set up for disappointment.
Yes.
Because I still remember the feeling I had because I really believed they were going to end the new Star Wars trilogy on a big positive note with The Rise of Skywalker. And I came walking out of that world premiere and going, this is I remember how disappointed I was coming out of Kraven. Yes, I thought Kraven was going to be good. Whatever. I was wrong. Tomorrow about 9:30 p.m., I'm going to be in a mood.
I know.
And that mood is either going to be electrifying excitement or that mood is going to be horribly upset. And with that, what's the name of the character from Peanuts who was always walking around the dust?
Pigpen.
Except it's going to be rain clouds falling on me. I'm going to be blue, my friend, blue. But look, here we are. We are now on Superman Eve. It's tomorrow. It's the last day before you're going to now walk in and go see this movie tomorrow, finally. What are you expecting now? What do you think? If you could look into a crystal ball right now and see Robert Meyer Burnett 36 hours from now, how do you, what are you guessing at this point?
You know, I keep saying this, and even though the movies have nothing to do with one another, I remember being excited 40 years ago, John, for a movie called Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah.
It looked good. Spielberg produced it. Robert Zemeckis is directing it. Michael J. Fox is in it. You know, there's a DeLorean time machine. And I remember going into that movie, I was excited to see it. I hoped it was good, but it was so damn entertaining. I mean, that movie was beyond entertaining. And I dare say, perfect screenplay. I was so entertained, and it wasn't just that the movie was entertaining, it was that every minute of that movie was entertaining. As the movie unfolded, I had a smile on my face the whole time. The plot turns, the characters, the actors, it was so funny, and so yet there was real stakes, real plot. I mean, Marty could have gone into non-existence. You know, there was jokes about Chuck Berry, there was Darth Vader jokes, there was DeLorean jokes. Everything about that movie just put a big smile on my face. And then roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. And then boom, into the credits. And you're just like, F yeah, man, that movie was rocking. You know, and that's what I want from this movie. And you know what? That's setting up the bar high. I'm on the precipice, man. I'm looking over, you know, and the Roadrunner. I'm like Wile E. Coyote. Right on the edge. And it's going to feel like I was pushed and there's no ground beneath me if I don't like this movie. But that's kind of how that's what I want from this movie, and that's what I expect. I expect the kind of constant entertainment that Back to the Future provided.
That's what I'm hoping for, man. Like, again, and we're going off on this. I understand, but it is Superman Eve tonight. If they can deliver that joyful, heroic, uplifting, like, you know what, one of the lines, there's a line in one of the trailers, and I have a feeling you liked it too. I don't know for sure because we haven't talked about it. There's a line in one of the trailers that some people roll their eyes at, and I get it. But to me, it was like an homage and ode to classic Superman. When Superman says the line, "Whatever you're planning, Luthor, it's not going to work." Right. That is such a classic comic book superhero line. Your plans will never work, right? It's just, and I get it that some people roll their eyes at that. To me, I'm hoping that that's an indicator that this is that movie that's going to embrace all of that. And if they can deliver on that promise, Rob, and that's a big if, but if they can, I think I'm going to walk out of this movie pretty damn happy tomorrow. I don't know.
I think so. I think you're right. You know, to equate it to another more recent movie not a movie that dates me as an old man, Pacific Rim, because I love Japanese science fiction. And I have to tell you, when I went into a screening, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before, I love Pacific Rim so much. It got to a point in that movie where Gypsy Danger in Hong Kong picks up an oil tanker and uses it as a baseball bat. I lost my shit. I was just like, I felt like I was 12 years old or 6 years old seeing I don't know what for the first time, but it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And the audience was screaming and yelling and loved it. I had so much fun in Pacific Rim because it tickled everything I wanted. And this movie has the potential to do that because it has giant monsters. It has robots. It has a pocket dimension. It has Lex Luthor. It's got the Justice Gang. It's got Metamorpho. It's got all this stuff that on paper, little Bobby Burnett would be very excited about. So, of course, then, you know, I might wind up with something I disliked, but I hope not. Because I'm an easy lay for everything I've seen so far. Come and get me. Ravage me, movie.
Here's the thing. Somebody's asking in the live chat. They're asking, will it be better than Man of Steel? I don't care. I see this is, to me, that's always been a very weird question. I guess inevitably, like after Avengers, right? After the first Avengers, every time a new Superman movie came out, people say, like when I would go see it early, people say, is it better than Avengers? Is it better than that? Like I don't get that mentality because whenever a crime movie comes out, how ridiculous and what a waste of time is it? Is it better than Godfather? Well, who cares if it's better than Godfather? I just want it to be good. Like, you guys know, for me, Man of Steel, again, my boy Henry right here. Man of Steel is my favorite Superman movie. Henry is my all-time favorite Superman. I think Man of Steel is the most underrated comic book film of all time. I don't think it's the best comic book film of all time, but I think it's the most underappreciated, truly wonderful comic book movie I've ever seen of all time. I don't need the new Superman to be that good. I just want it to be good. When I go to see a new crime, look, I don't think Casino is as good as Godfather. But do you think I don't passionately love Casino? Casino's awesome. Well, it's not as good as The Godfather. Then that means it's a failure. No, Casino is great. I don't think Goodfellas is as good as The Godfather.
Right.
But Goodfellas, I still think, is one of the greatest movies ever made. So I don't really, my measure of success for this Superman movie is not whether it's better than Man of Steel. It's going to be, is it good? And that's all I really kind of looking for.
You know, okay, you know how I look at this? Like, I love cop movies, crime thrillers, whatever. If Man of Steel is Heat.
Ooh.
If Man of Steel is Heat,
Ooh.
then James Gunn's Superman might be Lethal Weapon.
I like that.
Better yet, Lethal Weapon 2. Because Lethal Weapon 2 begins with the Warner Brothers dun, 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 over the Warner Brothers logo, which is the Looney Tunes thing. And it opens with Mel Gibson going, "One!" and hitting the top of the car as they're in a chase. So it's like, okay, Heat is a very serious, somber movie. And yet Lethal Weapon is still about two cops trying to take down bad guys, but they're totally different kinds of films. And Heat is, I love Heat. Heat is epic. You know, Heat is, if Christopher Nolan made a cop movie, he would have made Heat.
Oh, 100%.
You know,
100%.
Yeah.
That's the movie he would have made.
But Christopher Nolan would never have made Lethal Weapon 2. That was a Dick Donner joint all the way. And it's like, it's a totally different thing. And then you'd be like, well, is Lethal Weapon 2 better than Heat? I would say, why would you compare the two? There are movies that are working in different forms. I mean, obviously you have the character of Superman, so it's going to be easy to compare and contrast. But I think what these two movies are doing is diametrically opposed. They're two totally, it's different interpretations. It's, you know what it is? It's like interpreting Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. West Side Story is an interpretation of Romeo and Juliet. It's not Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet. It's a musical set in New York City about the Sharks and the Jets. But that doesn't mean, you know, it's the same story. Totally different presentation. And that's the way I'm going to look at it. So to compare and contrast, even though these are both Superman movies, they're trying to do totally different things.
Yeah, I would say this. There's one of our viewers is asking the question, comparing Superman to Man of Steel is not a crazy question. No. Comparing this, look, we can talk about Godfather or talk about Goodfellas. And after seeing both, we can then compare Goodfellas to Godfather. We can compare and contrast a little bit.
Sure.
Same thing with Casino and other things, or you can compare different cop movies. But that's a separate issue. Like, obviously, they're both movies about Superman. So obviously we're going to have comparisons for sure. It's just that idea, like I said, after the first Avengers movie came out, every single new comic book movie coming out is it better than Avengers? Well, when a new movie comes out, we can talk about it in relation to Avengers. We can do, but if your only metric about whether a movie is worth seeing or not is if it's better than the best thing that's ever come out in that genre,
Right.
well, then you're not going to see many movies. I just want it to be really good. I mean, that's the only thing I'm kind of hoping for. So
Plus the again, it's just the movies are doing different. They're doing different things with the character of Superman.
yeah,
You know, and I Zack Snyder's Superman movies lean to the messianic side.
Oh, by the way, I haven't watched it yet, but did you see that apparently last night, I'm not an avid viewer of Rick and Morty,
Oh,
but did you hear what happened on Rick and Morty last night?
no.
They actually got Zack Snyder and James Gunn to voice themselves having this ranty debate about their various Supermen.
Oh my God.
I've read some of it. I haven't watched the clip yet myself. But I mean, look, most people know James Gunn and Zach are buddies. And so the fact that they went in there and do that, and Zach's like, he was like criticizing James's Superman, and James was like saying
That's hilarious.
I gotta watch it. I love the fact that Zach and James did that. I love that they did. I haven't seen it myself, but I gotta go watch it because I think that's gonna be I think that's gonna be fun to see. So,
that's amazing.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? That now the final official projections going into the opening week of Superman are bottom end around 130, top end around 171. Some people believe it's going to exceed that. If it does climb over the round 160-ish mark, it'll be the biggest opening weekend of all time for DC movie, despite the fact of all the baggage that's coming along with this. It's the start of a new cinematic universe, and not as many people are going to the movies today as they were just a couple of years ago. That would be phenomenal. Do you think it's going to do it? How good is it going to be? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But question is for you, what do you think about all this? Jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. Again, I want to remind you all that tonight, I don't have a graphic for it yet, but tonight at 9 p.m. Los Angeles time, we are going to have Reaction Watch. Actually, we'll probably start at about 8:30, but Reaction Watch for the official launch of the Superman reactions is tonight. We're going to go live covering it. So make sure you come back and join us tonight. If you're still awake, that'll be kind of fun to do. All right. We are now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we will bid adieu to the great Robert Meyer Burnett. Rob, thanks for being here today, buddy.
I got to tell you, John, if nothing else, this is one of the most interesting movie openings that we've had in a long, long time.
Yeah, for many reasons. So tomorrow we got the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go grab dinner, and then we're going to go see Superman tomorrow. Yep. I'm so excited.
I am
All right,
too.
Thanks for everything, man.
All right.
All right, guys, that's Robert Meyer Burnett. And now let's get over to your comments and questions. Now, just in case you guys do not know, we have a tip link that you can find in the description of this video that you can use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's at www.streamelements.com/John Campea/tip. If you send on in a question or comment, we'll address it here on the show, provided that we deem the question or comment appropriate to be used on the show. We do reserve the right to not address something if we don't think it's appropriate for the show. All right. With that down, guys, let's jump into it here. We're going to start off with Superman LOL. Says, hey, John, finally watched both seasons of Last of Us. That full circle moment between Joel and Ellie that Joel shared with his own father really stood out. When it's your turn, I hope you do a little bit better than me. Amazing. Was it impactful for you? Yeah, listen, I know it's the cool thing for some reason for some people to hate on The Last of Us Season 2. I thought it was magnificent. Straight up, I thought it was great. I didn't think it was as good as season 1, but that was a very, very high bar. I thought the writing in season 2 was incredible. That moment too, which by the way was not in the game, but that whole thing about doing the flashback between Joel and his father, and then like seeing how that impacted him and how he's acting as a parent to Ellie, and then him using the same line to Ellie that his father used to him. Hopefully you'll do a little bit better than me. I thought it was powerful. I thought it was really good. So yeah, I liked it very much. All right. Next up, we've got Bry Guy, who writes, Paramount, Skydance, and Hasbro are developing a My Little Pony live-action CGI hybrid film. Jenny Slate, who is, of course, in Parks and Rec, by the way, and she dated Chris Evans for a long time. Anyway, Marcel the Shell with shoes on will star, pen the script, and co-produce with John Watts of Spider-Man No Way Home with the Greatest Showman songwriters. Yeah, here's the thing about that, though. Hasbro has been trying, I've got a little bit of a connection to Hasbro. My wife, Ann, was one of their people for a long time. She oversaw the Disney princesses and a lot of other stuff when she was there. The thing about it is they've been talking literally for years about a My Little Pony movie, like years they've talked about doing that. And I don't think it's actually going to happen. Now, don't take that to the bank. I'm not saying I know for a fact that it's not happening. I'm not saying that. I will be a little surprised if it actually comes out being, and honestly, I don't think a My Little Pony movie will do anything. I don't think anybody's going to go see it. Not that I don't think there aren't My Little Pony fans out there. I just really don't think that a lot of people are going to go see this. So Yeah, at the end of the day, I don't think it's even going to happen. It may. We'll see. My guess is that it won't, but we'll find out. Thanks, Bry Guy. Next up, SJ writes, one of two. John, a teaser drop for, I'm going to mispronounce this, forgive me, Ramayana 2026, India's biggest and costliest film, $100+ million budget. This epic retells Lord Rama's battle versus Demon King Ravana, aiming for Lord of the Rings level scale and global reach. Rumored Warner Brothers talks for U.S. distribution. Produced by 8-time Oscar-winning D-Neg, led by Indian CEO Namit Malhotra, executive producer. Part 1 wrap filming, now 16 months post-production. Global IMAX, November 2026. Part 2, November 2027. Score by Hans Zimmer. That's pretty cool. And Oscar winner A.R. Rahman, India's legendary composer. Listen, I don't know that there is a more fanatical movie market. Like, the biggest movie market is the US. But I have a feeling that the most fanatical movie market is India. India's movie crazy, man. They love movies. And I'm always shocked in a very pleasant way when I dig into the YouTube analytics, and I don't normally go this deep, and I start looking at how many people from different countries around the world watch the show. I am always floored how many people from India watch the John Campea Show. I've all the way back to AMC days, Collider days, the movie blog days, and now here at the John Campea Show. How many people from India watch it? And that's why at some point I would love to go visit India just to see that. So anyway, look, I don't know anything obviously about the legend and all that kind of stuff and the mythology behind this. I don't know anything about this movie at all, but I know they've been putting bigger and bigger spectacle into it. And hopefully if it does pick up some North American distribution, it'd be really cool to see what kind of reaction and response that it gets from the audience. Anyway, thanks for sharing that, SJ. All right. Next up, we've got Matan, who writes, seeing the box office for Jurassic Park Rebirth only made me wonder how much can earn a dinosaur movie that is well written and well made. Yeah, again, listen, it all depends on your point of view. You can look at the 91 million opening, compare that to the other Jurassic World movies, not so good. But bigger picture, in its first week, it has made over 300 million worldwide. How good will the legs be? All that kind of stuff. Who knows? But I think it's a fair question. Like, what if Jurassic World Rebirth was actually good? And again, I don't think the movie's terrible. Okay, I'm not saying it's trash. It's got some things in it that I really enjoyed. But overall, I was pretty disappointed with it. And I think that's the general consensus. Anyway, if this movie had been great, with big dinosaurs, Academy Award winners in it, big superstars, I mean, it could have been sky's the limit. It really could have been sky's the limit. Anyway. All right. Thanks, Matan. Next up, Jake Galbo sends in a $20 tip. Thank you, Jake, for supporting us on that level, man. Appreciate that, dude. Jake writes, thank you, John, for giving us a show today. My job offered me a 12-hour shift with overtime and holiday pay today, so I took it. Very wise. I just wish your show goes for 12 hours. I can use the good company. I fix semi-trucks and trailers while listening. Well, thank you for that, Jake. I appreciate that. And honest, you want to hear something crazy? Okay. This was back in the, I'm going to say it was in the Collider days, in my Collider days. There were some discussions about having movie talk, which we did. And of course, we also had, Heroes, and we had a bunch of other shows. But there was a point where discussions started to happen of just doing then a show later in the day that was literally like 5 or 6 hours long of just doing what we're doing right now. Just casually talking, shooting the shit, talking, taking questions from the audience, kind of like open mic, but doing that every day for like 4, 5, or 6 hours long. So like you literally would have had, the proposal was that we have like 7 or 8 hours of programming every day. The main show, movie talk, couple of the side ones, be they, Nightmares or Heroes or Rewind or whatever it was. And then having the last part of the day being like 4 or 5, 6 hours long with just a very casual show like this. The rationale behind it was that a lot of drive home talk radio shows go like 4 or 5 hours. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. And I was kind of against it. A couple of reasons. One, because talking that long would kill me. And radio, they take commercial, like 4-minute commercial breaks, like every 7 or 8 or 10 minutes. And I said, if we can figure out a way to do that, maybe. But ultimately, I decided against it. I think they still wanted me to do it, but I was like, I wouldn't be able to do it. I just physically wouldn't be able to do it. Like just doing a 2-hour John Campea show at the end of the day, my throat's killing me. So we didn't do it. But we came close, Jake. We came close at one point to maybe not 12 hours, but having like an 8-hour broadcast day. And I'm glad we ultimately didn't do that. All right, next up. Ian McAllister writes, my biggest takeaway from seeing Jurassic World is that I desperately want a Jaws-esque movie in the Jurassic World universe with a mosasaur. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I think isolated stories away from people go to the island they shouldn't is the way they should take this franchise. Here's my question though, Ian. Were you to do that, the question becomes, well, then just watch Jaws. I mean, there are lots of shark, terror at the sea kind of movies. Like I guess my question, Ian, would be, what would be the point of doing that within a Jurassic context? What's the point of doing it within a Jurassic context? And so I don't really know that we would need it. Like the whole idea of like Jurassic World is like dinosaurs walk among us, like a little individual story about like a blue standalone movie, just following the adventures of one velociraptor. I don't know. Yeah, I outside of the Jurassic World universe, maybe, but I don't know that makes a lot of sense inside the Jurassic World universe. Anyway, it's an interesting idea though, man. All right. Thanks for sending that in, Ian. Appreciate it. Next up, an anonymous viewer writes, as excited as I am for Superman, it's bittersweet. I'm 23. I grew up with the DCEU and Arrowverse. Superman feels like the full stop to that era. Well, the full stop came a long time ago. I'll miss it. Not sure we'll ever get something like the Arrowverse again. Probably not, but way too excited for Gunn's Superman. You know, there's a discussion. I know this isn't what you're saying, Anas, but there's a discussion that's come up a couple of times where like some of the Snyder bros, and again, don't confuse the toxic garbage Snyder bros with Zack Snyder fans, right? Like the vast majority of Zack Snyder fans are just common sense, fully intelligent, reasonable movie fans that love Zack Snyder and love other stuff too. Like just that, like always remember that Snyder fans does not equal Snyder bros. But like, I've seen some of the discourse from the cancerous piece of shit Snyder bro conversations where it's like, they literally blame James Gunn for killing the Snyderverse. To me, and I've tried to say this to a couple of them, that's like blaming the coroner who shows up at a murder scene for the death of the murder victim. It's like, guys, the dude was dead long before the coroner showed up, or the CSI guy or whatever. That dude was already dead. The CSI guy or the coroner guy showing up is not the one responsible for this guy dying. This guy's dead. And because that guy's dead, the coroner came, or the CSI came, the crime scene investigation unit came because the guy's dead. And I try to explain, James Gunn did not kill the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse killed the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse died. It was dead long before James Gunn ever came around. And as a result of the DCEU being dead, they brought in James Gunn because it was already dead. And I say that, as many of you guys know who watch my show regularly, I liked every single movie in the DCEU except for Wonder Woman 1984 and except for Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn. Other than those two, I liked, really liked, or loved every single one of the DCEU films. But it failed. And it failed. Its failure had nothing to do with James Gunn. James Gunn didn't show up and kill the Snyderverse. Snyderverse died and was dead, and its skin was cold. And as a result of it dying and being killed, James Gunn came in to start something new. And I just read all these ridiculous comments online. It's like, James Gunn killed the Snyderverse. No, he didn't. He didn't. It was dead. And then he came and showed up. It was like this one time, I remember I had to have a conversation with this guy. I knew him. He wasn't like a buddy of mine, but I knew him because I started dating this girl who used to be his girlfriend. Again, he and I weren't tight friends or anything like that. I just casually knew him. And I remember he came to me saying, dude, that's not cool. Like, you got my girlfriend dumps me to date you. And I'm like, hold on. Your girlfriend did not dump you to date me. I'm not that much of a catch. I said, you and your girlfriend broke up. Maybe she dumped you. I don't know. But that had nothing to do with me. And then later, completely unconnected, she decided she wanted to date me. By the way, it didn't last long. I wasn't like, we just dated casually for a little bit. Didn't amount to much. But I said, your girlfriend didn't dump you to date me. Your girlfriend dumped you. End of story. Fast forward to the next chapter of her life. She decided to date another guy, and that was me. But one had nothing to do with the other. And that's the thing about James Gunn and the Snyderverse. James Gunn did not kill the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse died of self-inflicted wounds. And I say that as a fan of it, but it died of self-inflicted wounds. And then James Gunn came along to start something new. So yeah, anyway, anyway, getting back to your thing about the CW Arrowverse, man, there was a period of time there that I really loved it. I really loved the Arrowverse. I loved the first couple of seasons of Arrow with Stephen Amell. I thought that show was going to be crap, and I ended up really liking it. It fell off the rails eventually, but I really did like that show. And then Flash came along and I loved it. I loved Black Lightning. I thought Black Lightning was great. Stupidest costume ever in a superhero show, but I thought the show was great. The actors were great. I really liked the CW. I was never a big fan of Supergirl, to be honest with you. I tried to like it, but I couldn't get into it. But yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to see something like that again. I really don't. But it really did have its time. It really had its time. All right. Let's see here. Next up, we've got Benji Worldwide, who writes, hey, John, hope you're feeling a little better, dude. I'll talk about that in a second. I finished Squid Game Season 3, and holy shit, the cameo at the very last scene actually blew me away. I haven't seen it yet. Squid Game comes to Hollywood, people. I was feeling meh on the end, but that cameo alone changed that. Yeah, again, I haven't watched Squid Game Season 3. I haven't even watched Squid Game Season 2. And I have no explanation as to why. Because I really liked Squid Game Season 1. I really liked Season 1. I just never got around to watching Season 2. I will at some point, and then eventually Season 3. So what Ben is asking about, hope you're feeling a little better, is on Thursday night, most of you probably noticed we didn't have a John Campea Show on Friday. That is because Thursday night, I was just sitting on the couch with Ann, and I went to get up from the couch, and there's something about the way the angle I was at or something that was just the wrong way to do it. And I don't know if it was a nerve pinch or a muscle pull or something in my very base lower back. Felt like a knife with the temperature of 1,000 burning suns was stabbed into my back. And it hurt like hell. And I collapsed to the floor and I couldn't move for a good 15, 20, 30 minutes. It took me forever just to get to my feet. And then I could barely move. And I basically couldn't move anything for all day. And so I couldn't do the show on Friday because I couldn't even get into the studio. That's how bad it was. I couldn't even get into the studio. So after that, over the course of the past like 48 hours or so, slowly but surely, my back has been feeling a little bit better, like a little better, little bit by little bit by little bit. And I'm now, it's still sore. Like my back is still sore and I have to stand up and sit down pretty gingerly still, but I can get up and down and I can walk around. I can't run, but I can walk around. So every day it's getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. So I haven't gone to the doctors or anything. So I'm thinking in the next day or so, it's going to be perfectly fine. If it's not, I'll probably go to the doctor, see if I slipped a disc or something. But yeah, that's why there was no show on Friday. By the way, Ray just sent me this. Ray just sent this. Our official thumbnail for Superman Reaction Watch is tonight. Reaction Watch is tonight. Reminding everybody. I think I'm going to go live at about 8:30 LA time. The reactions start dropping at 9. So we'll probably just hang out and chat for about a half hour and then we'll do the reaction. So yeah, my email just went off. Ray just sent me our thumbnail for tonight. Very excited about that. All right, let's keep going here. Next up. Thanks for that, Benji. Mr. Sledge writes, I've listened to your rants about cinema advertising. I was wondering how it will affect cinema profits to make changes. Not actually that much. If I was an advertiser, why would I pay for an ad that no one will see because they know not to show up until a movie start time? That's just an example of the flawed logic of this whole thing. Now, here's the thing. Whenever we talk about the issue about how stupid and backward thinking and self-destructive having all these ads before a movie start time, like you say a movie starts at 7, why is the movie not starting to 7:30? And gosh, you wonder why fewer and fewer people are coming to the movies now. Here's the thing. And everybody thinks, oh, think of all the money. You know what? The movie theaters don't actually, if you broke it down into a pie chart, the size of the slice of pie that actually comes from the commercials and ads that play before a movie is not actually that high. It's not a big percentage. Would they lose out on some of that? Yes, they would. But I think the benefit of doing that, of taking that small hit, would then come back to pay off because it would make the movie-going experience more enjoyable for people. And the more enjoyable that it is, the more often people will come. Back in the AMC days, when I was running AMC Movie Talk and stuff, we would often talk about making changes. And we had a phrase that we used called burn rate. You may not find this interesting. I think it is, but hang with me here for a second. We had this thing that we would call burn rate, which was, let's say we had a show that wasn't working, right? We had a show, and that's what happened at AMC. So we made some shows that were big hits for our audience, and we made some shows that didn't work out so well, and we would cancel them or pull the plug. Nobody's fault. They just didn't work, right? So here's an example. I won't name the show, but we had this one show that we were doing for a while, and it wasn't getting great numbers, okay? It wasn't getting great numbers, but there was a group of people that watched the show really regularly and really liked it and were very engaged with the show, right? It had an audience. It just had a very small audience. And the reality was that the viewership numbers that show was getting for us did not justify the really big resources we had to put into that show. Like the amount of people we had working on it, the number of hours that was being taken up by those people, and the money it cost us to produce that show, we just weren't getting a proper number of, return on investment for it. The show just wasn't doing well enough. Now, we knew that if we canceled that show, it was going to piss off some people who watched it. We knew that. And we might even lose those people as viewers of our network as a whole. We knew that. It's like, okay, we're talking about canceling the show, but the problem is if you cancel it, there's going to be a certain number of people that are going to be really pissed off that we cancel it and might not come back and watch any of our shows. We knew that. And we referred to that as burn rate. That if we make this change, we are going to lose some of our audience. But the question we had to ask is, if we take all the resources that we were giving that show and reallocate those resources to a new show or to better some of our existing shows, will we gain more viewers long term than the amount of viewers we're going to lose by making that change right now? It's called burn rate. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people on YouTube and in television that refuse to make a change because they know it's going to sacrifice some of their audience. But they fail to realize that they may lose some audience, but their changes may gain more audience in the long run. And we would call that burn rate. How that applies, I think, to movie theaters today is that, yes, if movie theaters cut out at least a significant amount of the advertising they do before a movie starts, will they take a hit? Yes. Yes, they'll take a hit. But it's not as big as you think. But regardless, the long-term bigger picture issue is that you take that hit now in order that long-term you're going to see positive benefits. That if you create a more enjoyable movie-going experience now, then over the course of weeks and months, you are going to more than gain back whatever hit you took by making the change. It's called burn rate, and I think the movie theaters need to understand that. Anyway, sorry, I know that was probably boring, but I just had to put that in there. All right, next up, we've got Ethan Holgate, who writes, R.I.P. actor Julian McMahon. Yeah, I know you guys aren't fans of the 2000 Fantastic Four movies, but I actually really enjoyed the 2005 one and have nostalgia for it, and I liked him in the role as Doom. But he was a good actor from stuff I saw him. 56 is too young. Yeah, man, and here's the thing, he was most known, not even for Fantastic Four. He had this massive hit show called Nip Tuck back in the day that people really liked. And, obviously I feel really bad for Julian and his family, but another person I feel really bad for, somebody I know who liked Julian McMahon very much, was our own Aaron Cummings. Because I believe this is the second time and I haven't talked to her. I've been meaning to reach out to her about this, but I haven't know what to say or how to word it. But a lot of you guys remember that, Aaron played Spartacus's wife in Spartacus. And she really loved Andy. She thought she loved him. And of course, then he got diagnosed with cancer and died. And that was very hard on Aaron. And now, a lot of people forget that Aaron was actually also in Nip Tuck. She had a small recurring role in Nip Tuck where she was like a love/sex interest with Julian McMahon. She had like an on-screen relationship with Julian McMahon in Nip Tuck. And this is like the second time that a lead in a show that she had worked with and was very fond of has passed away of cancer. And I haven't reached out to Aaron because I'm just honest. I don't know what to say. So, but yeah, I was really tragic to hear that. And as bad as the Fantastic Four movies were, he wasn't the problem. I thought he brought everything to that role that he could for Victor. I thought he did everything he could. So, so absolute tragedy. And I was really sad to hear that, man. I didn't even know he was ill. All right. Next up, we've got Ghazi Q, who writes, my favorite TV character of all time is Negan. He's great. And ever since, I like to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan in any role. Do you think he will ever be in the MCU or DCU? I think he would make a great DCU villain. Well, I mean, you can say that about any good actor. Any good actor could be a great DCU villain. Now, don't forget, Jeffrey Dean Morgan was in a DC movie. He was Thomas Wayne. He was Bruce Wayne's dad, who died at the beginning of Batman versus Superman. So don't forget that he was in there already. Of course, when I think of Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think of John Winchester. I think the dad in Supernatural. That's what he'll always be to me. He will always be that to me, no matter what else he's in. Of course, he was great as the comedian in The Watchmen. He's great in everything. I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I think he's great. But yeah, for me, I will always think of him as Winchester. That's the way I'll always think of him from Supernatural. All right. Next up, we've got Raymond Verrado writes, R.I.P. to Julian McMahon, who played Dr. Doom in the Fox Fantastic Four movies. He died from cancer at the age of 56. Do you think it's enough time for Marvel to put an in memoriam credit at the end of Fantastic Four First Steps? I won't cancel them if they didn't. I mean, yeah, it's if they wanted to do that, I'll go one step further. Not only do I think I won't be canceling them if they don't, I don't think they should. Will it be a nice gesture if they do? Sure. Yeah. But Julian McMahon, it wasn't even Marvel's Fantastic Four that he was in. It was a completely different thing. It was a completely different movie. It was a completely different studio. It was a completely different cinematic universe. He literally had nothing to do with this movie or the people making it. I mean, to me, it would be just the same as, I don't know, who's an actor that passed away? Like say James Earl Jones passes away and putting an in memoriam to James Earl Jones in a Fantastic Four movie. It doesn't really make sense. Yes, he played the character of Dr. Doom, but that was that was a completely different studio, a completely different cinematic universe. So look, do I think it's a bad idea for them to put in the credits of the new Fantastic Four in memory of Julian McMahon? I don't think it's a bad idea. Don't get me wrong. But I don't really think there's any need for them to do that any more than Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN putting in memoriam Julian McMahon. I just don't know that that's the time or place to do it. So, yeah, could they? Yes. Do they need to? I would say no. I really, because here's the other thing, because he absolutely had nothing to do with this iteration of Fantastic Four or this studio or these people making it, I would go so far as to say it might run the risk of feeling disingenuous. Like it might actually, it could run the risk of them just putting the name in there just to get points with the audience or something, right? I know that's a dark way of looking at it. I agree. But yeah, it's just so far removed that I don't think they will, and I don't think they should. But I'll be totally good with it if they do. Again, it would be a nice gesture. I just don't really see the name for them to do it. All right. Next up, Dildar writes, it's funny to me imagining Jason Momoa as Blanca for the Street Fighter movie because he'll be painted green and all of his lines will just be grunts and shooting electricity. What is reality anymore? Well, time out, Dildar. Who says that's the way they're going to do him in the movie? Games are the games. The movie's the movie. Like, for example, Bane in the comics is actually an incredible genius. Like, a very articulate, well thought out, strategic genius. And then the first time we saw Bane on the big screen was in that Batman and Robin movie. And he was just some mindless, hulking monster. Like that's all it was. I'm not saying that's what they should do. I'm just saying that just because he's one way in a game, that doesn't mean that they're going to do it that way in the movie. I can guarantee you, if they're getting Jason Momoa to play Blanca, he's not just going to be grunting lines. He might not even be painted green. And I don't care if they do or not. My number one concern is making a good movie. And whether or not the Street Fighter movie, if it even happens, is going to be good or not will have nothing to do about whether or not Jason Momoa's skin is green. If it's a bad movie, if only his skin was green, the movie would have been good. Nope. Wouldn't it still be a bad movie? I know that's not what purists want to hear, but I don't really care. It's either going to be a good movie or it's not. And I guarantee you, though, for Jason Momoa to sign up for it, you are not going to see him just grunting like a monster. And I agree, Joseph. Bane in the Harley Quinn show is the greatest iteration of Bane. I must carb up for the fuck fest. Yes. Greatest line in television history, ladies and gentlemen. Where's the pasta? I must carb up for the fuck fest. Greatest line in television history, courtesy of Bane. Anyway, okay, next up. GR writes, hey, John, missed your show on Friday. Yeah, because we didn't do one. I hope you're feeling better and on the mend. Do you have a movie that you thought was good, but not great when you first saw it, and then later it became a rewatchable for you? Ford versus Ferrari is one for me. Oh, I loved Ford v Ferrari the first time I saw it. Yeah, I was fully on board with Ford v Ferrari the first time I saw it. You know what? I can't think of any movies off the top of my head. Like, I can think of just a couple of instances where there was a movie I didn't like the first time I saw it, and then later really loved it. The best example of that for me is Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. For whatever reason, the first time I saw that movie, I hated it. I have no idea why. Because a year later, when I watched it for the second time, I was like, what the heck? Was I just in a really bad mood? This movie's great. Like, I loved it. I can't really think of many that my opinion changed that much on, though. Like, for a movie that I watched and thought, oh, this was good, and then later really loved it. You know what? I can think of one. Dumb and Dumber. The first time I saw Dumb and Dumber, I thought, oh, that was good. Like, I liked it. It was thumbs up. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I love, obviously, good Canadian kid, Jim Carrey. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. But I didn't passionately love it the way I do now. Like, every time I watch that movie, it gets funnier and funnier to me. I don't know why, but it just does. So, yeah, that's the one movie I can think of that the first time I saw it, I liked it. I enjoyed it. But now I can rewatch it every year. So that's the one movie to me that I can think of. All right. Next up, we got Raymond Verada, who writes, though I haven't seen Superman yet, I think I know why James Gunn included Krypto in the story. If I remember my archetypes, Krypto is a trickster archetype, a catalyst that drives the story like Toto and R2-D2. Watch them closely and the story beats change. I don't know, like in many ways, like side characters or pet characters can kind of be MacGuffins in many ways, right? I think the role of Krypto in the movie is more of an anchor character for Superman himself. Like, just by having Krypto, you're having something that becomes a real emotional anchor for Superman. Now, you can say it's Ma and Pa Kent, but we understand that. You can say it's Lois Lane, but that's a romantic love interest. By having Krypto, you now have something there that Superman really deeply loves that can become a motivating factor for the character later on, should that object, in this case, a dog, become in peril, which we did see in one of the trailers. So we'll see. We'll see how he's used. Again, I'm going to see the movie tomorrow, and then I'll have a much better understanding at that time, Raymond, about how we feel that fits into that. All right, next up. 40 trench-coated rats writes, could be pointless to even speculate, but I wonder if the scene in the trailer where Krypto pulls a helmet off and Superman punches the guy is quote-unquote payback for him getting punched in the scene they cut. It won't be, because one of the things that we know, because the actress mentioned it by name, some of you guys might remember that they didn't announce, but it came out that they did cut a quick clip, like not even a whole scene, just a quick part of a scene where Ultraman punches Crypto. And apparently the test audience that saw it hated that. I kind of like, I get pulling, if the audience hated it and it disconnects the audience from the movie and it disengages the audience from the movie, then I get pulling it out. I kind of would have left it in, but we do know because they actually named the character by name. It was Ultraman that did it. It wasn't this random guy that Superman punches and knocks his teeth out. So it won't be payback for that. All right. Next up. Good question though, 40. Ben 10 writes, if Blade ever comes out, I would love to see Jack O'Connell in a villainous role. X-actor and X-role, man. It could also be a big casting to get people excited again. Do you think he could fit in the MCU? Here's the thing, Ben. Any good actor could fit great in the MCU. But it all depends on the character, what character you want to put the match with. Is the character you're writing a good fit for that actor? Like, if you ask me name any really good actor and ask me if they could fit well in the MCU, the answer is yes. But you then got to find the right character for them. The way those characters are written, is that a good match for the actor? Now, for those of you who don't know, Jack O'Connell is the guy who plays the main vampire in Sinners. And he's great in that movie. He's really good in that movie. But just because he's in Sinners doesn't mean, well, let's cast him. We got something with other vampires. Let's put him in that too. Like I'm just saying, I don't think that just because he's in a vampire in one thing, now that automatically means he should be in Blade. You know what I mean? But he is clearly really good as an actor. Like I was very impressed with him in Sinners. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he gets a Best Supporting Actor nomination. I won't be surprised at all if he gets a Best Supporting Actor. I thought he was really good in the movie. So would he be a good fit for the MCU? Well, yes, but only in as much as anybody who's a really good performer could be a good match for the MCU. It all depends on what character you get, but don't think Blade just because he's a vampire and something else. Anyway, that's just that. Anyway, thanks for the question, Ben. Appreciate it, man. All right, next up. The Bobster writes, strong 5-day performance by Jurassic World. Depends on your point of view. Deadline reports the film received $150 million in media value from promo partners like Jeep, etc. Does that reduce the P&A cost by that much? It doesn't. Therefore, lowering its breakdown point, budget report is $180 million. No. See, here's the thing. Every single movie, most of the bigger ones, right, will have these marketing tie-in deals. Whether it's with car companies or you're seeing a bunch of them for Superman right now. Like, you guys have all seen the, what's the insurance company, guys, that has Flow? It's not Prudential. Who is it? Yeah. Anyway, guys in the live chat, throw in which is the insurance? Progressive. Thank you. Millie was for, Progressive. So, have you guys seen that Progressive commercial with Superman? It's like they show up to clean up the mess, but good, Superman's already been here. You're like, whatever. So if you haven't seen that commercial, just look it up on YouTube. You can find it easy enough. Like just about every major movie will have those in, but that is counted separately in the books. That is totally counted separately in the book. It's never put directly against. Like the balance sheet on a movie is always done expensive making it, profits brought in as a result of people viewing the movie, right? Those other deals go on to a different line within the distributor and within the marketer. So, and again, every movie does it. Some have bigger than others, but that is something that's completely devoid of people seeing the movie, people buying tickets to go to see the movie. That's totally devoid. That's a separate corporate deal being made for something else. And obviously it's good for the studio. 100% it's good for the studio, but it's calculated on a different spreadsheet entirely. All right. Next, we get Who is it? Ty writes, well, I saw Jurassic Park Rebirth. It's actually Jurassic World Rebirth. I call it Jurassic Park sometimes too. To decide for myself and was overall disappointed. What was that yellow raft made of? And why is the T-Rex so slow? At least the next time I'm at the movie theater, it will be for Superman on Friday. Yeah, again, let me reemphasize. I did not hate Jurassic World Rebirth. Did not hate it. Just wasn't a super big fan of it. I just felt like there was a number of things they could have done and should have done much better. And again, some moments I thought was great. Like, yeah, the T-Rex was slow, and what was that raft made out of? But I have to admit, overall, I love that scene. I love the sequence. The sequence of them running away in the raft away from the T-Rex. I thought that was a very exciting scene. Unfortunately, I only felt like 20 minutes of the movie was really exciting compared to the 2 hour and 20 minute runtime. So yeah, it is what it is. All right. Thanks for that, Ty. Next up, Hookem writes, hey gang, got my crypto popcorn bucket. Nice. I can't wait to see Gunn's iteration. My question is on the merchandise of Superman and other such movies. Who gets that money for t-shirts and figurines and such? Studios, the IP rights holders. So, okay. The answer to that is that it depends. There's many different types of arrangements that can be made. Generally speaking, it's a licensing deal. Generally speaking. So, Funko, you know I love my Funko Pops. By the way, I still get people asking about this. This is not a Funko Pop. This is actually a John Campea with my classic Rebel Alliance hat, good Canadian flag, and down here at the bottom, Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone, with my Bring on the Filthy shirt. By the way, I don't have a battery in it right now, but the lightsaber lights up and stuff like that. This is not a Funko Pop. This was actually an actual statue made for me by one of our viewers who then sent that to me. And I'm getting sidetracked here. What those generally basically are, and again, there are different models that happen, but generally speaking, that's a licensing deal. That's a licensing deal. So Funko will sign licensing rights with, say, Sailor Moon, the company behind Sailor Moon, and they pay a licensing fee to the company that runs Sailor Moon. And as a result of having that licensing agreement, Funko can now go off and make their toys and sell their toys and profit from making their toys. Now, there may or may not be a clause included in that contract that it could just be a flat licensing fee. Like Sailor Moon, the company behind Sailor Moon can say to Funko, hey, I'm just going to make up a number, okay? $2 million flat. You can have the licensing rights for 5 years to make Funko Pops. Or it could be something like for $1 million plus 10% of all sales. Or so it could be different, but generally speaking, the company that makes the product signs a licensing deal with the owners of the IP. And that can be just straight up for a flat rate amount, or it can include percentages of sales. So that's basically how it's done. Again, I don't want you to get the impression that that's the same for every kind of thing. It's wildly variant from deal to deal, but generally speaking, that's kind of how they do it. All right, next up. And this will be our last question of the day, guys. Potion Seller writes, hey, John, this LA native now living in Australia is going to the premiere of Superman tomorrow, the 7th of July, where I live. Nice. I absolutely cannot wait, and I will definitely be writing in to give my non-spoiler reaction. Super hyped for the movie and your spoiler review. Well, yeah, I don't know what day we're going to do the open spoiler discussion for Superman yet. I think it's probably going to be Sunday, because I usually like to give everybody a couple of days to see the movie, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, do the open spoiler discussion. So that's when that will probably happen. But again, want to reiterate, tonight, Superman Reaction Watch. The social media embargoes are lifted tonight for the first reactions for Superman. And by the way, somebody's asking me if I will do an out of theater review. Oh, I will absolutely do an out of the theater review for Superman tomorrow night. 100%. 100%. So definitely keep your eyes open for that. Hopefully it'll be good. We'll see. But tonight we are going to do a reaction watch. I'm going to go live at 8:30. We'll talk for about a half hour, and then we'll start tracking as the reviews start rolling in, as the first social media reactions start rolling in. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, guys, listen, there are still more questions to go, but I don't have Jonathan here to help me with everything. So Jonathan had the day off today. He'll be back again tomorrow. So we're going to cut off there. If you had sent in a question and you didn't see us get to it yet, hang tight. We'll get caught up on the show tomorrow. So guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because it gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Hopefully I'll see a bunch of you guys again later tonight as we do Reaction Watch. Looking forward to it. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.